The Indian military's historic Operation Sindoor went into pause 3 weeks ago. But today, 3 weeks later, NDTV has accessed what could easily be the most significant imagery depicting the kind of damage that the Indian Air Force actually did. My colleague Vishnu, as always, has scooped these images. Vishnu, the Murid base, the Noor Khan base, I want to hand it over to you immediately because these are jaw-dropping images that Vishnu has accessed via Maxer. Images of incredibly high resolution, which we haven't seen so far. This is the first time, Vishnu.
And that's why we're doing it, because what we're going to show our viewers now is an incredible series of hits, perhaps even targeting an underground facility of quote-unquote special weapons, which the Pakistanis may have been using. But let's quickly run through the photos over here, the high-resolution Maxer satellite imagery. Look at the image on the left. This is of the Murid Air Base. This is a command and control center. This is an image of the 16th of April. Now, look at the image of the 10th of May. That's when India went in with the strikes. Look at the circles over there. If you can't see much, don't worry. We've got the next image coming up for you. Let's go to that next image. This is the same building. And here you can see the areas which were circled. In fact, Shiv, significant damage. Now, what's been explained to me is
all of these are strike damage here.
All of these are strike damage, right? And the reason this is interesting is that this building hasn't collapsed, but the fact of the matter is that the warheads have penetrated over here, is what I have learned, because of overpressure inside. Human beings, anybody else, likely a great deal of damage inside this particular building. This is a command and control center next to a UAV hangar. Let's move to the next image, and this is where it starts getting really interesting. Look at the image on the left. This is the 16th of April 2025. Again, Murid, the short distance away from the previous picture. Let's look at this particular area over here. Right, this particular area over here seems normal, nothing, just some sort of a field. Well, think again. Look at the post-strike image of the 10th of May. We've circled it over there. There is a crater over there. That's because there is an Indian missile warhead with a penetrator warhead, most likely, which has gone in over there.
That's the hole that the missile made.
That's right. It's likely gone in because, and I'm going to explain this with this next picture. And then Shiv, let's talk about this because it is quite remarkable. So the next image that you see on your screen has that area. We've zoomed in over there. It's a crater which is 3 meters wide. It is 30 meters away from this.
That's the underground facility.
It says entrance.
That everyone's talking about
and
now.
That is where there is a road going in over there to an underground facility. We've used the word likely. I can now tell you that it's not likely. It is an underground facility. So Shiv, this basically means that the Indian Air Force was doing a couple of things. They were knocking out buildings, they were knocking out command and control centers, they were knocking out runways, and they were taking out hidden facilities of the Pakistani Armed Forces underground.
A 3-meter wide crater, Vishnu, is huge.
A 3-meter wide crater is relatively large. In fact, it was 8 meters on the runway at Rahim Yar Khan. 8 meters.
A big hole in the runway.
So that's right. So the thing which we can't tell with this satellite imagery is the depth. But as I understand it, this may have been a penetrator warhead. If that warhead penetrated deep, it sort of got through the concrete and exploded. If there was weaponry inside or anything else inside, that blast mark that you see could have been caused from inside out, so as opposed to be.
Could this all be burned?
Yeah, it is a burn. It is a clear. All of this, and we've got the previous image. But the entire area over here, the black area, is the blast diameter, the diameter of the blast. Whether this area was scorched as a result of flames from underground or whether it was as a result of the impact of the blast over here, we may not know, but this is an underground facility.
So would that suggest, the burn outside suggests that the inside of this underground facility has sustained significant damage?
Massive. It seems quite likely. We do know, and this is just 30 meters away. 30 meters away from the crater is the entry. If that is, as I understand it, a penetrator warhead, we don't know how far it's penetrated, but the chances are that there has been substantial damage underground.
I have to ask in that case, Vishnu, what does special weapons mean? Underground special weapons facility is what?
You want me to tell you the weapon?
You have to. You've got to at least hint at it.
Well, look, India's got a couple.
Hit a facility 30 meters away from the entry point.
We can only speculate.
Right. Let's speculate.
So we've got, remember in the Balakot strikes, there was a spice warhead There was the Spice warhead, which had the ability to penetrate through a certain number of targets. We've got different weapon systems with warheads which are designed to pierce concrete, go deep down, right? And at a certain depth explode.
Yeah.
When that happens, there is blast overpressure inside, and depending on the extent of intrusion, it can easily destroy human tissue, number one.
Yeah.
But more significantly, in the case of something like this,
Weapons.
if there is machinery, ammunition,
Yeah.
weaponry, whatever it is inside, that gets destroyed. And the question and the key point we don't know is that this entire scorch mark
Yeah.
outside, is it the result of fire from inside, or is it the result of an explosion over here?
So it's possible from the evidence that we're seeing on the surface
Either way.
that there was something that exploded inside or cooked off or
Quite possible.
came ablaze, something like
Quite
that.
possible, because
Yeah.
look, the gap is just 30 meters and the entry is absolutely clear over there. Let's move on to the next image. And this is from the Noor Khan Air Base. Now, we've played these images earlier on. In fact,
Noor
the high
Khan is
resolution-
Rawalpindi, Vishnu,
That's
right next to Islamabad.
It's right at the heart of Pakistan itself. We've had these images earlier. I'll tell you why we're doing it again, Shiv. This is the image from the 25th of April before the strike. Look at this particular area. You see a couple of buildings over here. If the camera person can just zoom in, I'm going to walk down, take a step down to this particular area. What you see over here, these aren't buildings. These are in fact tractor trailer trucks, and they've got awnings on either side, right? This is the cab of the tractor trailer. This is the trailer element, awnings on both sides. These are thought to be command and control centers.
Completely
On the 10th of
decimated.
May, that's gone. You can see the burnt out wreckage, Shiv, right over here of one of the trailers.
Yeah,
the other one
yeah.
is completely gone. But let's now just focus on this image and then tell you what the Pakistanis have been up to
Yeah.
at this particular site, which is why we are focusing on this again. Let's go to the next image and we can focus a little bit on this Noor Khan Air Base. That's the destruction over there. There is partial damage to a building.
there's nothing
the truck
left. It's
debris,
completely gone.
There is truck debris over there as well. And so the final image in this report, where we can now bring you what the Pakistanis have done after this. So let's go to the next image, which is the final image. There are earth movers. There's post-strike debris cleanup. Buildings have been demolished, which actually goes to show we
Yeah.
were talking about those trucks. There is a lot more,
Correct.
which has been devastated as a result of those strikes.
So Vishnu, coming to the final point in that case, and I'm going to
How
go
many
back.
images do the Pakistanis have of strikes in India?
Apparently nothing. I mean, why do they need to spend money asking for satellite images when they know they actually hit nothing, right? That's worth actually checking up on. But let's go back to the Murid pictures for just a moment and the underground facility, because I had
let's
an
go to the next
important
one.
question.
Yeah.
The next image of the underground facility. Vishnu, we can only speculate on this as well, which is that what is it? Was there one hit particularly that may have forced Pakistan to cry stop
And
say ceasefire?
and could this have
Could
been
it be
the-
this three meter crater?
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is that Pakistan came to the ceasefire table.
Yeah.
It wasn't the other way around. As anyway, I'll repeat what we've said earlier on. The Pakistani Director General of Military Operations, when India went in with our strikes to those terrorist training camps, said that, look, no, we are going to retaliate. And they did retaliate. 48 to 72 hours later, he was the one calling up and saying, no, that's enough. We now need to get into a ceasefire situation. Why? Possibly because of the weight of these Indian attacks. These were very, very heavy attacks. We did, Shiv, on the basis of this imagery and what we've been bringing our viewers for the last several days, escalate that matrix quite substantially.
Yeah, clearly.
We didn't exactly right-size our attacks on their airfields, did we?
And you know, the amazing thing about these images, Vishnu, also that I want to wonder about is the Air Force put out a lot of imagery in those press conferences that you attended. But they also didn't put out a lot of imagery, and that appears to be coming out in tranches like these pictures that Vishnu has.
I have a little
brought
pet
out.
peeve against ISRO, Shiv. Why does ISRO, which is a world beater, why is it unable to produce satellite imagery for public release of this resolution? This is not even military grade, by the way. Think about how strong military grade footage actually is, or pictures really are. We needed a lot more of that. Fortunate that we've got this Maxar imagery to show the world that, look, this is what India finally did.
And you know, the final thing that this tells me, Vishnu, and I want you to comment on that as well. This tells me that there's more that's waiting to be revealed by satellite imagery, you know, that are waiting to capture the right moment on Maxar, ISRO, whoever, that something like this to come 3 weeks later, and we've seen amazing jaw-dropping images already, but you scooping this 3 weeks after the first tranche of images actually came out tells me that we are sitting only on a fraction of what was potentially hit.
Absolutely. And it is interesting that the Indian Air Force isn't necessarily talking more than what they've already said so far. I think their sense and their philosophy is, look, we've had a job to do, we've done it, and we continue to do that. So it's for us journalists to pull out imagery like this and analyze it. But I think, the weight of these strikes very substantive, Shiv.
So, Vishnu, both of us have been obviously interacting with people in the military. Off camera, the armed forces have had their press conferences as well. What must be going on right now in the imagery analysis war rooms of the Air Force, of our technical research organizations? These are open source pictures that are now available in the public thanks to your news break. But what kind of imagery would the Air Force have with it?
Well, I would suspect that they've got return feeds from weapons which actually went into strike. We've got weapons like that, the hammer, the crystal maze, etc., which provide video feed. We do not know which weapons they used. They've not told us which weapons they used to which target. But we know what weapons the Air Force has, whether it's the hammer, whether it's the Rampage, whether it's the BrahMos, or the Scalp, which has been spoken about. There are other weapon systems as well, as I understand it. The entire range of drones, we've discussed that extensively in the past. But just look at these strikes, this is very, very substantive, and this is that building. And this is just one angle. The key point as we look at this imagery, because a lot of people from across the border are saying that, there are these tiny little holes. Those are tiny little holes, visually when it comes to this picture. But the damage caused inside is absolutely immense. You don't need to have a gigantic crater with a hole inside. I mean, we've seen what's taken place in Bahawalpur. We've seen what's taken place in Murid.
Do we know what missile made that 3-meter crater? Last question.
Well, I could tell you, but then I'd have to shoot you.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Vishnu and I, as you can see, are not going to let go of the after effects of Operation Sindoor. And on NDTV, we will guarantee that we bring you those images first. And remember, at 6 p.m. tomorrow on NDTV's YouTube channel, Vishnu and my podcast, Control All Defense, has a special episode on the Indian drones that were used in Operation Sindoor. Do not miss it. It goes live, premieres 6 p.m. on the NDTV YouTube channel.